Hi there, this is the voice of Katie Robinson Edwards, the curator at the Umlauf Sculpture Garden in Austin, Texas, and I'm here with one of our most fabulous docents, Mr. Tom Hyder. Thank you, Tom. And we're going to walk together through the Umlauf in Austin, Texas, to this wonderful sculpture by Charles Umlauf called Spirit of Flight. And it's actually the scale model for the one at Dallas Love Field. And we brought Tom along so he could tell us a little bit about this incredible sculpture. Tom, take it away.
Well, Katie, I love Spirit of Flight because it was so important in Charles' career. Spirit of Flight is the sculpture that really led to Charles Umlauf becoming an internationally known sculptor. The great thing about Spirit of Flight is it was commissioned after there was an international contest for sculptors to create some type of work that would be at the main entrance off of Mockingbird Lane to the newly opened Love Field in Dallas. And so all these sculptors around the world submitted their entries, and the winning entry was Spirit of Flight by Charles Umlauf, 1959. And it's a spectacular sculpture. And those of you who've been to Love Field have had to have marveled at that sculpture. This figure right here, our Spirit of Flight, is in the middle of a fountain. And the final piece there at Dallas Love Field is 17 feet tall, surrounded by 18 birds in flight with wingspans that average 4 to 6 feet and have fountains shooting out of them. It's just a spectacular sculpture. Everybody falls in love with it when they see it. And thankfully, our friends at Love Field recently restored it, and now it's better than ever. And the nicest thing of all that they did was they created a walkway. So if you're at Love Field and you've got time between flights, you can actually walk out and take a stroll around the sculpture. I just think that's a real added bonus when you're at Love Field. But a couple of things that I really find fascinating about Spirit of Flight was when Charles received the commission, when he won the contest, he went to the foundry where he had been doing most of his work, having most of it cast. And it was a foundry in upstate New York. And he told them about winning this contest. And the folks at the foundry were very excited and happy for Charles. And then when he told them the size of the sculpture that he was going to create, and the time frames he was looking at, they said, "Oh my gosh, Charles, we can't handle that for you." And so Charles had to scramble and find another foundry that he could work at to get the sculpture completed. Ultimately, that search took him to Italy, to a foundry that had been around for hundreds of years in a little town in Italy called Pietrasanta, Italy. Now, those of you who are real art fans, you'll say, "Hey, I recognize that name of Pietrasanta." And why you recognize it is because that's the area of Italy where Michelangelo mined most of the marble he used in his famous sculptures. So Charles goes to the foundry in Pietrasanta, has the sculpture cast, then it is shipped back to the United States, to Dallas Love Field. The fountain is created and the sculptures are installed in that fountain. And so that's where today you can go see Spirit of Flight. But what's really unique about that is once Charles made that visit to Pietrasanta, it really opened up his thinking and his eyes to what could be done in the world of sculpture. And he started taking his works to Italy, his castings every summer to Italy to be ultimately created at the foundry. He would take over basically the plaster molds, and there, working with the folks in the foundry at Pietrasanta, all of his various sculptures were created every year afterwards. So this was really the start of Charles getting introduced to Italian art and the Italian foundry process. And obviously it turned out very well for Charles and for those of us who have a real passion for his work. A couple of other things that are noteworthy about this. You'll look at this sculpture and you'll say, it kind of reminds me of something, but I'm not sure what it is. Well, what a lot of people think it reminds them of is Icarus. And we all know the famous story of Icarus. Icarus and his father were trapped in a maze. And one day his father said, "Son, I know how we'll get out of here. I'm going to make us wings out of feathers and wax, and we can fly out of here." But he warned his son. He said, "But don't fly too close to the sun, because if you do, the wax is going to melt and you're going to fall." Well, Icarus, being a young man, what's he going to do? As soon as they started flying, he couldn't wait to get up high. Ultimately, the wax melted and Icarus fell. Charles never told us that Icarus was really who he was modeling Spirit of Flight after, but it's a reasonable conclusion to make. It was also at a time when Charles was really kind of exploring Greek history, and he was doing a lot of different sculptures based on Greek figures. And I think, the Spirit of Flight clearly demonstrates his skill and his love for those ancient times.
That is wonderful, Tom. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Always happy to talk about Charles Umlauf and his work.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.